So this is my first game, Shadowless. I made it about 4 months after I had first started programming. I had been jumping around from idea to idea. Just all my ideas for making games that time were way too ambitious. Like I kept wanted to make MMOs and open world survival games and things did not have the skill or dedication to make. Then I read this article by Derek Yu, the guy who made Spelunky. It was all about how you should just stick with an idea and make it and make what you can make instead of jumping around from idea to idea. And it really inspired me to just stick down and finish a game. So I settled down, set a time. I was like, I'm going to make a game in 1 week. And I thought about it, figured about, what could I actually do with the skills I had. And I thought Unity had just released Unity Free. They had just gotten directional light shadows because there weren't shadows in Unity Free at the time. And I figured I could make a game using shadows maybe. Maybe there's a character that doesn't have a shadow and you kill him before time runs out, before night falls, and that's how you win. So I knew I could do that. I knew the basic mechanics to do all that weren't too complicated. So I settled down and programmed it. It ended up taking me 2 weeks because of midterms, I blame. But I really stuck with Derek Yu had said all about you should just do whatever it takes to finish a game. A lot of the Unity community was talking about that, how you should just settle down, finish a game, because so many people are getting stuck and just jumping around and never finishing anything. So I did whatever it took. I jumped around. I found the site Rainish Tile Sets. It had public domain 3D art, and I just took all the art from there and used that to build the level and use characters. I found animations in the Unity standard assets that were free, just to make the walk animations and stuff. There wasn't a sword swing animation, so I figured out though that the gun pistol aim animation, if you triggered it just right, it would kind of look like a sword swing, so I went with that. And then the music I made from this free music program called MuseScore, I think. I just sort of messed around and made something that sounded okay and went with it. I had to learn how to rig a character in Blender. That took a while. I had tried making my own art in Blender, but it was so bad and ugly and terribly made that it would just crash the editor every time I tried to import it, so I gave up on that. And I made the ground was all made with the Unity terrain editor. But making all that and all the level and making all the programming stuff, there's things I had to figure out that I struggled with, but it was really the last 10% that was the hardest, figuring out, I need to make an actual icon for this game. I have to make, so when it shows up on your desktop, it's not just the Unity logo, and I have to make so the cursor is hidden when you play the game, and all these little things you don't think about, and how do I actually export the game? How do I actually make it playable? And there's so many little things you don't think of, and that last 10% that took the most work. But once you do it, you kind of get it and you figure out how to do it, and it's not as hard the next time. Another interesting thing was it's the first time I'd really thought about level design and how in a game you don't just throw stuff around. It's okay, there's a level, that's fun. It has to be playable and winnable using the mechanics that are there. I had to figure out, some characters stand in shadow and walk around. One character doesn't move and stands in shadow. So you have to be able to figure out in the time you have which character doesn't have a shadow, because it's random every time. And you have to be able to run around and check each character before time runs out. And so you make sure you always can kill the correct one. It has to always be winnable. So it was just neat. First time I'd ever figured out that's something that has to be done. Overall, the game wasn't really that fun, but it's an important milestone because it's the first game I made. I actually finished something. I learned how to stick with a project. I learned how to do what I know I'm able to do. It's a good accomplishment, and it's something I could show off, which is, it's a terrible game, but everyone who doesn't know anything about programming or game development is always impressed by an actual game.